Fall Guys was one of those games that went viral for a couple months and then it fell off pretty bad. But with the recent ports of the game, everyone decided to jump back on with the game with new players, myself included. It's not one of my favorite games ever made, far from it, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't addicted to it, and it is mainly due to the variety of the minigames. And since I played through most of the minigames Fall Guys has to offer, I thought I'd conjure up a list of my favorite and least favorite minigames in the game. And the reason why I wanted this to be a double top 10 instead of a double top 5 is because there isn't too much to explain with the minigames, unlike all other topics I talk about on this channel. Now then, since this is a game based on variety, there will be a lot of subjectivity when it comes to Fall Guys. People will like minigames you don't and others won't that you do. If your favorite or least favorite makes it onto one of these lists, or if they don't make it at all, I have my reasons. At any rate, unlike my other double countdowns I do, well, I did anyway, I'm gonna talk about my favorite minigames first and then move on to my least favorite. At any rate, let's go! Jump Showdown is a fun final because it is Jump Club, except that the arena is much more spacious and platforms start to collapse until only 2 of them are left. This minigame is one that feels like you're kinda getting put on edge, because it's a final and you have to make sure that you are the last man standing. And make sure you watch out for dickheads that try to grab you and you eventually get swept off the edge by the beam. But at the same time, if you find out the timing and keep your cool, it's a very chill experience. Jump Showdown may not be my favorite final in Fall Guys, but at the end of the day, it's just fun and fun all the way. Until grabbers decide to just ruin it. Mate, frick the grabbers. And unfortunately, I may be guilty of being one of them myself, but I don't do it all the time, okay? Ski Fall is classified as a race minigame, and technically speaking, it kinda is, but I always think of this as a hunt minigame. For this minigame, you have to jump through rings to get 15 points, and then you're qualified. Bronze rings are 1 point, silver rings are 2, and gold rings give you 5 points. This minigame does get pretty stressful because of the ice physics, especially if you're really desperate trying to get the gold and silver ones. And there are obstacles on the ice that will try and push you off or slow your momentum down, but I still really like Ski Fall no matter what. I've already gone in depth on Jump Showdown, so anything I said about it can also be said about Jump Club. Easily one of the more simplified survival minigames in Fall Guys. Platforms don't collapse, so you'll usually never put on edge, but the sweepers will eventually get faster and faster. And this minigame does have some grabber problems, but still, what more to say about Jump Club? It's simple, and it's just so much fun watching people get swept off the edge. Also, the arena looks like something from a bounty castle. Skyline Stumble is a minigame that was pretty annoying for me when I first played it, mainly due to the fact that I suck dodging my obstacles, but this is easily one of the more skilled minigames under all its crappy luck-based events and RNG present across most of the game. Just many obstacles include pinball bumpers that switch as to what path you wish to take, followed by buttons that activate cannons and items from big shots, 2 low gravity sections, one at the beginning, another as 2 of the 3 alternate paths to the finish line, and walls that switch from the press of a button to the next segment. This minigame is one of those that is pretty difficult and kinda convoluted when you first play through it, quite possibly getting yourself eliminated, but when you keep getting this minigame, you'll end up qualifying almost every time. And that's why I love it. While as much as I love the race minigames in Fall Guys, I will admit they are just races going from point A to point B. But Speed Circuit really changes that. If you love Sonic R or want to experience what that game is like, you may like Speed Circuit a whole lot. This literally feels like an actual foot race with obstacles and boost rings. You have to complete 2 full laps in Speed Circuit in order to qualify. Obstacles you have to avoid are hammers, spinning hurdles, and even the boost rings themselves if you don't get through them. And on the second lap, the gates from Gate Crash will activate, giving you more time to react. The only things that frustrate me about Speed Circuit is that you have to constantly hold up a control stick the entire time, leaving with possibly a sore finger, and this frickin' bullshit that happened to me at the literal end of the goddamn race.
That is bullshit blazing, still my heart is blazing.
Out of all game modes, Perfect Match is 1 out of 2 minigames to be logic minigames. But however, Perfect Match is kind of illogical since most players would end up following the crowd if they forgot. The reason why I'm bringing this up is that Hexagon, a survival game, tends to be more logical than Perfect Match. Oh yeah, a best Fall Guys minigame list would not be complete without Hexagon. For this minigame, it's a final, and you have to destroy tiles and eliminate everyone else to be the last man standing. The reason why this is so much fun is that you actually gotta think things through, such as timing your jumps, figuring out which tiles to eliminate, and finding out when to either just simply jump or run across the tiles. It's very fun with a good test of skill. It's also a minigame where more and more people are using an exploit that you can basically just drop down to the final tile level and eliminate all tiles from there, so that you'll have a higher chance of gaining that crown and watching everyone else fall into the pits of sliming hell. This may as well be my favorite final. Other finals such as Jump Showdown, Fall Mountain, and Hexa Ring come close, but Hexagon to me wins at the end of the day as being my favorite final. Still hoping to gain a win here. Honestly, Dizzy Heights is just a bunch of pure fun and enjoyment. Basically, this race consists of running or jumping from spinner to spinner, and it brings a whole lot of excitement to the table. Also, what I like about this race is basically all about timing and figuring out what spinner you need to go on in order to keep your speed and momentum going without getting left behind. The end section is a little bit annoying since you have to dodge yellow balls falling down a hill and onto the final 3 spinners, which can be a nuisance since sometimes you may end up getting hit by one and quite possibly losing that first place and gold medal. But I still enjoy that particular end section since staying on the right side hugging the wall usually does the trick. Dizzy Heights pretty much brings the casual side in Fall Guys, bringing in a fun and simplistic race that beginners of the game can enjoy. But if you really want to bring in the best example of a fun and simplistic race in Fall Guys, look no further than the Whirligig, the minigame that I call the best minigame in all of Fall Guys Season 1. This race consists of fans and sweepers, and it is a really cool race because the sweepers most of the time are pretty useful as you can use them to get to the front very quickly. Granted, it's an optional choice, but most players would rather choose to use exploits to gain a chance of reaching first place, and I believe the Whirligig does it really well. And as for the fans, be very quick, and while at some points you will get hit by them and possibly get stun locked, they aren't too problematic. And near the end gives you 3 alternate pathways like in Skyline Stumble. Most players would end up choosing the middle and getting wiped out by the fan, and the first time playing this minigame I went for the middle and failed absolutely spectacularly. Still, the Whirligig is easily a fun minigame, and like Dizzy Heights, it is a fun and simple race for even beginners of Fall Guys. While as fun as simplicity is, challenge is also a fun factor. Challenges done right can end up as a memorable and addictive experience, challenges done wrong can end up as a cluster truck. That's why Treetop Tumble is my favorite amongst all challenges. And so, I decided to bring in a guy who also likes this minigame, and he's a guy barely anyone who watches this channel would know of.
Hey guys, it's Riley here, and I'm back from top 10 bad games and good franchises. 2 years ago. Man, that list could have had some improvement.
Don't forget you made a cameo in Lee's favorite games.
Oh yeah, well I'm glad to be talking about Treetop Tumble with you.
Most races in Fall Guys bring a whole lot of addictiveness with versatile ways to test the player's skills and mindsets. and Treetop Tumble is no different. Mainly due to the fact that the obstacles are placed so well in a way that it feels like I'm watching Tarzan and Jane or playing Donkey Kong Country.
This minigame also makes a good use of pathways, having an upper section and a lower section. The only thing that is a bit weak about this minigame is that the balls at the bottom section are a bit annoying to avoid, especially if you're the one that is being targeted.
That and the water section where you jump on the bouncing lily pads, which is faster than walking through the water. But aside from that, everything else about Treetop Tumble is great. Has a fantastic use of obstacles, great use of alternate pathways, and just a great minigame introduced in Season 5. Thanks for coming, Riley.
No problem. Glad I could be of help. Now let's see if I can find my way out of here.
Wait. I might need you to help me in a certain segment on the worst portion of the list, so...
Sure, I'll stay. I'll just find something to do until you call me for that entry.
Okay then. Man, this is gonna be fun. But before we reach my number one favorite, let's bring up the honorable mentions. Party Promenade. This minigame would have definitely made it on the list if I enjoyed it a lot more before making this list. Hexaring. Basically hexagon but with 3 layers of tiles and it's spinning. Roll On. A very chaotic and hectic race but very fun all around. Lily Leapers. Aw mate, a race consists of lily pads is basically trampolines? Yeah, it's a load of fun. Freezy Peak. Nothing too interesting about this one, I just really like it. Yeah, welcome to User 1 Campbell. Team Tail Tag. Aw mate, it's not that bad, calm down. I mean, compared to normal Tail Tag, it's pretty tolerable. And Full Mountain. It's a very fun race, plus it's where I got my very first win, so it's a crime if it ain't mentioned anywhere in this video. Number 1 may not be the most popular choice, but just bear with me. My favorite minigame in all of Fall Guys is... the Swiveler. Honestly, whenever this minigame comes on, a part of my soul just ascends in the heavens. Basically, for this survival minigame, a fan is chasing all the players and you have to move away from a fan on the moving walkway, dodging spinning hurdles, sweepers, and hammers in order to avoid getting blown away by the fans. It's one of those minigames where most people will get eliminated, but others will not. Granted, I do get eliminated in this, but it's not like I get upset or anything whenever it happens, and when it does, I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. Also, for a minigame about running away from a fan, I always forget that the fan is there. I just keep moving, never stopping, hoping to qualify, which I do around 80% of the time. Fall Guys is one game I love, but a lot of minigames just actively pisses me off, and even in the minigames I love, I just get a crap ton of bad luck and just get upset over it. But with the Swiveler, it's a very big stress reliever, venting out all my frustration and keeping my cool whenever I do play it. Just play this minigame with a straight face, clearing your mind out, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And now that I've said that, time for the minigames that piss me off the most. Okay, so number 10 is actually a bit of a filler entry because no matter how much this game wants me to bash my hand on my bed, I can't think of much minigames to put on here, but I still don't like this minigame. At any rate, number 10 is Tiptoe. This minigame very much is a game of figuring out which tiles are safe and which are not in order to find the carved path to the finish. But because the crowd usually follows, there will be a chance the entire lobby will just huddle against each other, causing players to fall off and having to catch up all over again. It gets even worse when the final tiles are carved back because most of the lobby will be there and you may end up getting pushed off by the group or try to dive but hit another player's butt and fall straight down. This is one out of many minigames in this list where usually minigames have great ideas but are ruined because of a lobby. For what Season 3's Penguin Pursuit did right, Season 5's Penguin Pool Party did the exact opposite. See, in both Penguin Pursuit and Penguin Pool Party, the longer someone holds the penguin adds a point, but Penguin Pursuit was fun because it's a team minigame which are usually synonymous for being one of the worst game modes in all Fall Guys. In Penguin Pool Party, it's a free-for-all. For this minigame, you have to hold the penguin until you get 25 points, but the arena was not designed in any way for penguin chasing and catching, something Penguin Pursuit got right on. Also, can I just say how much I despise grabbing in this game? Not just in terms of the player type, but also because for stuff such as swings, and especially for penguins that the hitbox is really flipping small. Hoping that one of these times, you'll catch a penguin and hopefully don't get grabbed by another player to lose the penguin. Also, catching one can seriously flock off because the little buggers are so fast as frick that it literally feels like a Mario game trying to catch a rabbit to gain a star or a moon. Seriously, I love penguins, but this is one of those cases where they can flock off back to Antarctica.
Flock off, Featherface!
It hurts just even thinking about this minigame. Ever since this game's release, Seesaw is legitimately one of the most tedious and frustrating races in Fall Guys, period. Why? Well, looking at this minigame's title, you know why. Okay, maybe that's being a bit too harsh, but just like Tiptoe, it's one of those cases where a lobby decides to screw it up for not just themselves, but everyone else. The race consists of jumping from seesaw to seesaw, and when you have a minigame where you also have to wait for the seesaw to come to your jump trajectory, you're in a recipe for disaster, as sometimes the platform you have to jump on won't go down because it's facing upward, and if it's facing downward, goddamn hopefully it's not too downward, because you could fall off by slipping, or if you decide to dive onto it, which is an idiotic move. What a crap show that Seesaw is. Season 4 brings in a lot of challenging minigames, from Skyline Stumble to Big Shots to even a Slime Scraper. That also being said, Short Circuit can blow a short circuit for all I care. I hate this race for solely a reason that pisses me off so much that 95 times out of 100 causes me to get eliminated. The rotating platforms combined with the electricity bars that stun you for a while until they say frick you and you get down again. I thought Stunlock had died since Shadow of the Colossus, but apparently that doesn't seem to be the case here. The moving platforms are a bitch to turn as well, especially since the punching gloves are on both sides of a corner, and then at the end near the finish line dodging more electricity bars all while dodging traps. And you wanna know what the worst part is? You have to complete 2 laps of this hellhole. I give Speed Circuit credit because it is the exact same race, except the obstacles aren't actually annoying to deal with most of the time. But here, because Season 4 introduced some of the most challenging minigames in Fall Guys, I've already said that challenge is either between fun or bad level design. Riley?
Yeah?
It's time.
Oh, for one of the bad minigames? What is it?
Surprise, motherf***.
Oh man, do we despise this one. Snowball Survival was one of my most anticipated minigames out of all in Fall Guys. I went into this minigame wanting to like it, but instead, it's a big dumpster fire.
It really puts the player on the edge, but for all the wrong reasons. But it really depends on the layout of the cracking ice. Have the cracking tiles be in the middle and not laid out everywhere, then it is less stressful, but even so.
It's one of those survival minigames where instead of depending how many people are eliminated, you just gotta stay alive till the timer runs out, and when you gotta worry about most of the time, 2 large snowballs rolling and clashing around the damn bowl. It almost feels like one specific player is being targeted.
There is a strategy where you can just find somewhere on the edge away from the snowballs to gain that advantage instead of just running around everywhere. But 6 times out of 10, the strategy won't work all the time.
I rarely get qualified on this, and it's because I get targeted a whole lot. And getting Snowball Survival, with the cracking tiles placed 1 or 2 tiles away from each other, can go freeze in the depths of the blizzard for all I care.
Hey, thanks for having me. Do you need help with another segment, or...?
Nah, I think I got the rest from here.
Okay, now how do I get out of here?
One thing that I've noticed in team minigames is that if you get on a yellow team, you are put there as a doomed to fail team. Granted, I have one as a yellow team, but as for Egg Scramble, if you get put on the red team, you are doomed to go to hell before you die.
Peace.
Mate, Egg Scramble is just the bloody worst. Not quite literally, there's another team minigame I hate more than this, but we'll get to that soon. Anyways, the base premise for Egg Scramble is getting eggs and putting them into your basket to gain points. Normal eggs are a point, and the golden eggs are 5 points. The problem is that if you're somehow that unlucky mother trucking team that got the lead at the very beginning, like so far in the lead, both of the other teams will go straight to you and bully you till you have no eggs left. And red team really gets the short end of the stick on this, since every time I play through this minigame, I swear everyone always bullies red team. And I was one of those unlucky people that got on the red team for the first time. And heaven forbid, you better keep the golden eggs in your basket because you need them in order to gain the advantage over the other two teams. Egg Scramble to me is the worst minigame in Season 1, and the second worst team minigame in all Fall Guys. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the worst team minigame in Fall Guys, that being Season 4's Basketball. Granted, while this minigame was my recent second win in Fall Guys, I still bloody hate this one. Granted, there's nothing wrong with the arena as it fits IRL basketball quite well into a Fall Guys setting, but that doesn't mean this minigame isn't an ultimate knockout. This minigame shares the same problem as it does with the Penguins, being that the basketball's hitbox is very small. And despite there being more than one basketball on the field, a lot of people will genuinely just go for one ball colliding in with one another, grabbing each other to get the ball off the other player, and even below gravity barely helps in the slightest aside from using the fans in order to dunk the basketball in, as it also shows the balls bouncing. I get that this is a subjective choice and that there are team minigames that can be considered worse than this, but I've always hated basketball, and unlike Luigi, I'm never ballin'.
Luigi's...
In my opinion, same game types are usually better on teams than they are in a free-for-all, like Penguin Pursuit and Penguin Pool Party, Team Tail Tag and Tail Tag, and Hoopsie Legends is no different. Hoopsie Daisy was a fun and enjoyable experience, but Hoopsie Legends is utter hell. While the arena is somewhat made for this, that doesn't mean I don't find it annoying in the slightest. Rings are usually spawned always far away from me, like the game hates me, and when a ring gets there, either someone jumps through it first, cutting my path, or the rings are spawned so far that you need to jump and dive goddamn perfectly in order to do that. Why? This literally becomes a panic fest when you barely get through any rings and one or two people have automatically qualified. Gold rings will spawn in from time to time, and jumping through the gold rings first is an instant qualification. And this seems perfect for someone such as me, but like always, I miss the precise timing of the jump, fail, and the next person gets it and qualifies when it should have been me. Now then, you may think of me as coming off as I just suck at it, and yes I do, but for someone such as me, it just comes off as chaos and hecticity rather than enjoyment or a fun sense of challenge. Just like in real life when I prefer playing basketball over volleyball, it just also carries over to Fall Guys when I prefer basketball over volleyball. Hitting the ball is super awkward, causing a lot of stress on the player with quick reactions. It is very responsive, but because of how jumping feels in Fall Guys, yeah, you're not gonna have a good time. I did manage to get an overtime one time, and of course the opponent got the point. What's kinda frustrating is that the game looks fun, but it is tedious as hell. Hitting the ball on the wrong side of the beam's flicky huge head may either cause the ball to go on the side or go straight down, and sometimes when you do hit it to the direction you need it to go, it may hit the bloody net. And if the ball does land at the top of the net, pray to Lady Palatina that it doesn't land on your own side, cause it may cost your point to the other person. Apparently, the ball will go in the direction where your face is looking, and if that's the case, that is even more annoying. This is why putting realism in games doesn't work most of the time. I get like basketball with basketball, this one is exactly like how you play volleyball, but most of the time video game adaptations of sports games aren't as fun as in real life. Now then, like I said, there aren't that many minigames that I technically hate, but before we get to my least favorite minigame in Fall Guys, let's reach some dishonorable mentions. Bubble Trouble. Yeah, collecting bubbles by bouncing on lily pads doesn't sound as fun as it is on paper. Some Fruit. More logical than Perfect Match, but the first couple times may end up being a bit confusing. Lost Temple. Holy crap, this is an annoying maze to deal with, especially since getting a crown is more difficult than in Full Mountain. Stomping Ground. Te metes con el toro te eliminan. Huh. Funny how all the dishonorable mentions are minigames added to Season 5. The Slime Scraper. I know this is a fan favorite, but man, this minigame is super cheap. And Tail Tag. Yeah, the arena was not made for tail chasing and catching in the slightest. Alright, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. My least favorite minigame in Fall Guys, and that is... Wall Guys. This is probably a minigame I hate a lot more than most, but god damn is this minigame absolutely frustrating. In this minigame, you have to jump on platforms to jump over walls. Sometimes you'll even have to move the platforms in order to reach the jump trajectory. I mean, working together in a free-for-all minigame sounds like it's fun. Except the thing is that everybody will huddle up together and jump on the same platform with most of them failing. And because then in Fall Guys, when you hit another player, you basically get bounced away by them. Imagine how I feel when 20 or 40 players are huddled together trying to jump on a platform, or when you try to jump on another platform or over the wall with another player and you basically get bounced away by them, or when someone grabs the platform or wall and you don't. Fall Guys is a game with loads of platforming, and taking it to be extreme here in Wall Guys should have worked, but it doesn't. I'm User One Campbell, and instead doing the credits for this video, I'm thinking of showing you some bloopers during the segments Riley and I collaborated on in this video. And until then, have a great day everybody.
Oh, for one of the bad minigames, what is it? Nah, I need to restart that. This minigame also makes a good use of pathways, having an upper section and a lower section. This minigame also makes a good use of pathways, having an upper section and a lower section. The only thing that is a bit weak about this minigame is that there are balls at the bottom of the section.
It's one of those survival minigames where instead of depending how many people are eliminated, you just gotta worry.
There is also a there's a strategy where okay, last one. There's a strategy where you can just find somewhere on the edge away from the snowballs to gain the let me read it. Oh yeah, well I'm glad to be talking about Treetop Tumble with you. This minigame also makes a good use of pathways, having an upper section and a lower section. The only thing that is a bit weak about this minigame is that the balls on the bottom section are a bit annoying to avoid, especially if you... Oh, I did the tool.